Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to your Calendars franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we took on the Florida Panthers in the first round of the playoffs, and it was actually quite an easy series for us for the most part, but it was a little bit nerve-wracking at times because we did find ourselves with an early 3-0 series lead off a 2-1 OT victory in Game 1, a 5-2 victory in Game 2, and a 4-1 victory in Game 3. But then we lost two straight games. One was a shutout 2-0 for the Panthers, and one was 3-2, so their goaltender was trying to get them back in the series. Well, we were kind of lucky because Game 6 we were able to win 3-2, so those last three games of that series were pretty tight, but like I kind of expected, it was going to be a little bit more of a closer series just because the goaltending was quite even. So we did find ourselves to the second round, but we are going to be taking on Montreal, which kind of sucks in a way because we've had some very bad luck going up against Canadian teams in the playoffs. Most of the time it's been in the conference finals though, so this is like one of the only times it's been a little bit earlier than that, so hoping that we could find a way to beat this Habs team. Now, they had the exact same record as us during the season, so this was one of those series that I have no idea really what to expect. Based off recent playoff success, though, you can see the Habs are scoring goals, they're playing good defensively, and also getting some solid special teams. Meanwhile, for us, we're not really scoring a ton so far in the playoffs, but we do have solid special teams again, and we also do have a very good goals against, so I honestly don't know what to make of this matchup, but I really hope that we can find ourselves obviously back in that conference finals again, as we are currently still one of those wildcard teams that are in the playoffs. So maybe there's a chance we could go on a little bit of a run here if we do find a way to beat this Habs team. Now, Montreal, they do have a concerning injury for their roster at the moment. They do still have a good roster on paper, but the player that is injured currently is somebody that's been on their team the entire time when we've been playing the Massive recently in the playoffs, and that is none other than Eli Anthony. He will be missing the entire playoffs, got injured late in the season, and yeah, he's out with a pretty major injury, so that's a huge loss for the Habs. However, you can see their right side is actually still relatively strong even without Anthony. Like, they don't really have a superstar player with Anthony not being in the lineup, but they do have very good depth on that forward group. And then from a defensive standpoint, their defensive core is pretty strong on the left side. Right side's a little bit on the weaker side of things, but it's still a good enough defensive core, especially when you have a good goaltender like Joaquin Boganecki, who's a pretty solid starter, and Germain, who is a very solid backup. So it is going to be still a tough series, I think, against this Habs team, but I definitely think we can find a way to beat them. It just is going to take a lot of team effort. Like, we definitely should be trying to score more goals in this round because the Habs are a high-flying offense. We're a very good defensive team. Meanwhile, the Habs are also very solid defensively. They're not as good as us, but they're very solid defensively. So if our team can find ways to score goals consistently against the Habs and we can still play that lockdown style, I definitely think we have a good chance at winning. But it also relies on if guys like Nicholas are going to still play really good in net, because so far Nicholas has been fantastic and he's been probably our best player this playoff run, which is not what I was expecting in the first round. But you can see in that first round he was 4-1-1 with a .942 save percentage and a 1.63 goals against average. So he's been fantastic, and if he could continue to play like that, he could definitely find ways to help us win in this playoff run if we're playing good defensively in front of him too. And if we could get more goal scoring support, like I said, from guys like Crane, Belchets, that type of thing, that would be nice. We did have some solid depth scoring, but we didn't have anybody really over point per game, so kind of hoping that we could get some guys scoring consistently in this next round. But with that said, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about the last episode, and then we'll get into this second round matchup against the Montreal Canadiens. So the first and only comment is from Michael Dose, who says, I always think defense wins championships. Maybe St. Nicholas in goal brings us the cup, and let's hope so, because you said St. Nicholas, right? Because I think of St. Nick obviously as in friggin' Santa Claus. So yeah, who knows? Maybe St. Nicholas will get us the victories, but we definitely need to still play good defensively in front of him because he is a young goaltender. So there is going to be probably a game at least that he makes like he doesn't play great, but maybe we could still win if our offense is projecting good. Then if our defense is still playing good in front of him, though, we might have higher chances, obviously, to win. So definitely just got to be careful still with him being a young goaltender and kind of lacking experience. Last year, he got quite far in the playoffs for us, but I still kind of obviously don't think he has a lot of experience like some of the other goaltenders we've had in the past, like Solovyov, for instance. So should be interesting to see who ends up winning this. I'm trying to think if we want to make any adjustments before we start this, which I don't think so, considering we just won that last game that we played. I mean, we do need to get that offense going a little bit better through this lineup, but I'm hoping that maybe it'll start off this round pretty good. If it doesn't, obviously, we could make some adjustments, like maybe Popoff goes up, Dempsey goes down, something like that. But this is a very balanced forward group. The defensive core is really strong. Like, we should find ways to win games here, as long as Nicholas is on his game and all that. So, yeah, let's keep the team like this to start off with, and if we get into any trouble, obviously we can make some adjustments, because we are starting the playoffs off on the road in Montreal. So if we could find a way to steal at least one of these 2 games in Montreal, we could definitely set ourselves up for some good stuff, because that's the one thing that's good about being a wildcard team, is you don't really have that pressure set on you for game 1 to be ready necessarily, because if you just steal one of those first 2 games, then you just need to win games on home ice, and that's easier said than done, I guess, too, but it is easier probably to win on home ice than it is on the road. So with that said, let's get to this first game of the series and see if we could take Montreal off their momentum. They did take out I think it was a pretty good team in the first round. I think it was Buffalo, yeah. If I remember right, I'm pretty sure it was Buffalo in 5 games. If not, it was somebody else in 5 games. But yeah, they've definitely been a very, very solid team up to this point. So can we find a way to get a win in Montreal? Let's see if we could find at least one of these games here early on and build off some momentum after the last round. First period, game number 1. And it's 2-0 Habs. That's not what I wanted to see. Like I said, Nicholas needs to be kind of on his game. Our defense needs to be on his game to win games as well. We've been a very good defensive team up to this point, so that's an uncharacteristic start. Now, the Habs are a good offensive team, like I said, so slowing down their offense is definitely something we got to do. But Frey scores, and our former defenseman and Latinen scores. Of course he does. I wasn't expecting him to score of all people, but they are getting goal scoring from a lot of different guys on that team, so we got to be very careful here that we don't get stifled offensively and we don't give up too much. But shots are 13-10. We are still in this game. If we could find a way to get a goal in the second period, we definitely could still tie this up. So can we respond in the second period? Second period? 2-2. Okay, we do respond with 2 goals of our own, and they're top-line guys. That's fantastic to see. Makinen makes it a 2-1 game, and then Ragnarsson scores like 8 minutes later or so. Actually, maybe not 8 minutes. What's the math on that? I guess 6 minutes later. So it's a 2-2 game. Shots are pretty even in this game, 26-25. So at this point, it's been a pretty even game. I mean, the first period we lost, basically. Second period we won. It's anybody's game going into the third period. Can we find a way to get that lead? Let's see what happens. Third period underway. Come on, boys. Let's get that next one. Penalty kill to start the third. And we get a goal right after that penalty kill. It's Ragnarsson again. And it's Makinen again, too. That's exactly when I wanted to see the top 6. And Russell scores a short-handed goal, but Nishushkin scores on that power play to make it a 5-3 game. This is more of an offensive game than I expected from our team after that first period, but I love to see it. Obviously, we are giving up a little bit more goals than usual, too, but that's all right. And we are going to take a game in Montreal on the road as we win 5-3 because of a strong third period showing. 38-37 were the shots. Very even game in terms of chances, but we do outscore them. That shorthanded goal by Russell, absolutely fantastic. He's been really good this playoffs too, which is not really what I was expecting from him when I brought him in, but he's been fantastic. So in terms of goals, we had Makinen from Ragnarsson, Ragnarsson from Holmstrom and Makinen, Ragnarsson from Lindsay and Crane, Makinen from Ragnarsson and Carlton, and Russell from Jang. So Ragnarsson had a 4-point game to start off this second round, I think, which is fantastic. Makinen had 3, so those 2 big guys stepped up big time. Everybody else only had 1 point, but you had guys like Crane who were +3, which is awesome. So the top line did some good work. The third line was probably the worst line, maybe some of the fourth line. So hopefully that gets a little bit better. And then in terms of goaltending, a solid performance from Nicholas. The first period wasn't very good, but onwards he was very solid. So once again, posted a .919 save percentage. So St. Nicholas again strikes with a good game. Ragnarsson first star, Makinen second star, and Latinen, our former defenseman, is the third star of the game. All right, not a bad way to start that off with a nice road victory. We've been a very good road team so far this playoffs for the most part, because obviously we've been a wild card team. We won both games in Florida to start off that first round. We lost a third game in Florida in overtime. So our only loss in the road so far has been an overtime game. So far this team's not had any problems with winning on the road so far, which is great. So let's keep the team the same and keep that momentum rolling. See if we could take it into game 2 and maybe take both games in Montreal. If not, hopefully we could at least take some of our games on home ice coming up as well. But Game number 2. On the road, can we have a nice game? Just build off that third period of last one. First period. 2-1 Habs. I don't really like that we're giving up goals early in games, but if our team's able to respond, it's not a huge issue. Lehman scores first. Franson and McArdle score for them. Shots are 18-8 in favor of us, but we're down by a goal. So not a strong start again from Nicholas, but the last game he was really good in the second and third, so I still expect him maybe to do some good stuff going forward in this game. But obviously our offense only having 1 goal and 18 shots, we need to be scoring more on that amount of opportunities if possible. So let's just hope that Boganecki's not going to have a strong game here all of a sudden. So can we respond in the second period? Second period. 2-1 still. I mean, at least we're still within 1, but we are out shooting him 31-16. So this is definitely more of one of those type of games that kind of play into our hands a little bit because we're a better defensive team. But Montreal's had some good defensive efforts too in this playoff run. So we got to be careful here. They are kind of stifling us because we only have... we've like pretty much doubled them up in shots, but they have 1 more goal than us still somehow. So can we find a way to tie this game up in the third period? And can we just continue to generate momentum and chances? Because if we get a lot of shots on goal still, that goalie's got to get tired at some point, right? So third period underway. Can we find a way to tie this game at 2? Power play for us, and yes, we can. And it's the trade deadline acquisition. Ethan Belchetz ties this one up at 2. That's a huge goal from Belchetz. Another top 6 goal too, which is fantastic to see. Final few minutes here of the third period, still tied at 2. We still have a lot more shots than they do at this point, and we are going to be going to overtime in game number 2. All right. So we still have not lost in regulation on the road at least, but can we find a way to get that OT winner and take a 2-0 series lead back to Long Island? Shots are 43-25, so we almost have 20 more shots on goal than they do, but their goaltender's definitely been giving them a chance. Can we find that next one and win this game? Who wants to be the hero? Who do I want to call on? I feel like since Ragnarsson had a good game last game, he should be able to produce in this game. That's going to be my guess. Let's see what happens. Overtime underway. Can we find a way to get that next one? Power play for us. We do not score on it. That's unfortunate. And then they scored, of course, as the Habs have tied the series up. It's Burkholm probably going 5-hole or some shit on Nicholas. And this series is tied despite us out shooting them 47-28. So we miss a power play opportunity and we end up losing in overtime. But at least we took 1 game in Montreal, so I'm not too worried. Because obviously taking 1 road game to start a series is just a decent start. Because now, if we could find a way to win both of our home games coming up, that'd be huge. But our only goals are Lehman from Carlton Ashton, Belchetz from Schaefer, and then of course they end up winning it in overtime. So definitely got to find a way to be a bit more consistent offensively. And guys like Dempsey, Jang, Hamilton, and Houghton need to be much better defensively. Dempsey being a -3 in a game that was 3-2. Is not ideal, and that was definitely Nicholas's worst game yet. His goals against was good, but his save percentage was definitely a little bit low, so hopefully Nicholas could respond a bit after that game. Obviously, if he has multiple bad games, we could always go to Komatov if we want to, but I probably prioritize still keeping Nicholas in because he's pretty much gotten us to this point, I would assume. So at least we won 1 game in Montreal. Who knows what could happen on home ice now. If we could find a way to win both these games, it could be pretty easy for us. If we win one of them again, then it could still be one of these series that maybe goes 7 games, which I wouldn't say anything less than 7 games is kind of unrealistic maybe in the series because both teams had the exact same record during the season, so this definitely should be a pretty even matchup when you think about it. So let's keep the team the exact same for Game 3. I know we just lost a game, but it was a road game, and we did take one of those 2 road games. So we'll keep the team the same for this. But if we lose this one, maybe we start to think about some adjustments depending how we play in this one. Like if we're not scoring enough, maybe make some offensive changes. If we're getting outscored badly, maybe we make some defensive adjustments, goaltending adjustments, stuff like that. So let's get to Game 3. We're still now back on home ice. Can we find a way to win our home games and show up for our crowd? We've been decent on home ice so far, so might as well keep it going. First period, Game 3. 5-0 Islanders. What the hell? Holy crap. Okay, well, is the game already over, or are they going to start clawing back? Because I do not feel safe with a 5-0 lead. I know it's kind of ridiculous saying that, but I don't know what the sim engine could throw at us. Firstly, Dempsey scores, Russell then scores again, Ragnarsson scores, Belchat scores, and Lindsay scores. They already have their backup in net. So talk about how last game the goaltender was really good for the Habs. Well, he's been absolutely abysmal here as he gets yanked early, allowing 4 goals early on. We have 5 goals on 13 shots. They have only 2 shots in that first period. That might be the most dominant first period I've seen. 13-2 in shots, 5-0. I don't know what to expect from the second period. So, like I said, I don't feel safe necessarily with a 5-0 lead with the sim engine, because all of a sudden it could be like, oh, they go up 6-5, they win 7-5 or something like that. So, I'm really hoping that it's not one of those games that they start to claw back in. So, let's have a good second period again. Let's keep adding to this route, or let's just play a good defensive period and allow them to get back into this game at any point. Second period. 5-1. Okay, that could start the comeback. You never know. But at this point, we should be pretty good. We're up by 4 goals with 20 minutes remaining. As long as we don't allow a goal every 5 minutes, we should be okay. But Otterize does break Nicholas' shutout. Shots are 25-12. So we are still badly out shooting them. They definitely played better than us probably in that second period, but they didn't score really that much. Can we have a good third period here and lock this one down and take the series lead? Third period underway. Come on, boys. Just got to play good defensively for 20 minutes. And so far, it seems like we're doing that, which is good to see. Because like I said, I was a little bit skeptical having a 5-0 lead after one, because I've seen teams come back from big leads randomly. But we are playing good defensively here in the third period, and we are going to lock it down defensively. All 5 of our goals come in the first period. We outshot them 35-27, so they did get back into the game in terms of chances, but we have, in fact, taken a 2-1 series lead with a nice convincing win on home ice. So that's why you don't make adjustments after just one loss, really. Dempsey from Kazanov and Holmstrom, Russell from Houghton, Ragnarsson from Jang and Makinen, Belchat's from Jang, and Lindsay from Dempsey. So a lot of guys I wasn't expecting picking up points in that one. Like Jang had multiple assists. We had Dempsey with multiple points. And then Holmstrom had an assist and stuff. Well, Holmstrom, I guess, is an offensive defenseman, but still. Some other guys I didn't expect too much. So yeah, Jang and Dempsey both to 2 points, couple guys on 1 point, but you had like guys like Lindsay who are on the top 6 pairing being a +3, so definitely some very good stuff from our depth. And then in terms of goaltending, a nice response game from Nicholas. That's exactly what I wanted to see from him after last game. So yeah, Nicholas has still been definitely our savior on this team. He's been very good in net. We've been able to score goals a little bit more consistently this round, which is good as well. As Nicholas gets first star of the game, Dempsey the second star, and Russell the third star. Russell has been really good, and I don't really know why, because like when I brought him in, he was more of a guy to bring in for the defensive play as a two-way forward. But he's been fantastic offensively this playoffs, and we need that depth scoring, I guess, if we're going to go far this year. So very, very impressed so far. All right, so we have a 2-1 series lead. We are still on home ice, so if we could win this next game, we might be in the driver's seat to get ourselves back to that conference finals again. So let's keep this team the exact same, and let's see if we could get another good offensive game. We scored 5 goals 2 times this series. Game 2, obviously, we only scored 2, so I just hope that we don't get a good game from Boganecki after he was yanked in Game 3. So let's see what happens. Game 4 on home ice. Can we find a way to take a 3-1 series lead? Can we do it? First period. 1-0 Montreal. So that's definitely not as good as last game because we scored 5 goals in the first period, but we are still in this game, so that's at least good to see. Shots are dead even, 12-12. So both goalies playing relatively good. Unfortunately, Nicholas is the one to buckle as he gave up an early goal to McArdle, but after that, it looks like he was pretty locked in. So hopefully our offense can have a good second period here, because if our offense is this inconsistent in this round against Montreal, that could hurt us a bit, because it was good in Game 1, not so good in Game 2. Game 3 was really good. So far it's kind of trending into a maybe more of a defensive Game 4 here so far. So can we find a way to tie this game up at 1 or maybe grab that lead in the second period? Second period. It is still 1-0 Habs, so I am a little bit worried about this game because I do really like how Nicholas has played. I like how our defense has played. But our offense is still having that same issue it kind of had in the first round against Florida, where it was a little bit on the inconsistent side of things. So we need a strong third period here. It seems like right now Boganecki's getting a redemption arc after last game getting yanked in that first period, which is not good. So shots are still pretty close, 23-22 in favor of us. Can we find a way to tie this game up in the third period and maybe take a 3-1 series lead? Let's see what happens. Third period underway. Can we find a way to tie this game up? Nice penalty kill there by the boys. Come on, boys. You got goals in you. I know you do. There you go. Hamilton scores. That's a nice one to see because Hamilton, I don't think, has scored yet in this playoffs. He was an acquisition for that third line, but that's a big goal at this point. Can we find a way to get that lead? The answer is not just yet. We are going to another overtime this playoff run. Shots are still very even in this game, so this is pretty much like a chess match this game. Both teams having similar shots, goals. So both goalies are pretty much playing safe for save. Who wants to be the hero for us and give us a 3-1 series lead? Who do I want to call on that hasn't maybe done something in a bit? Trying to think of who could be an unsung hero in OT. Obviously, I could say Russell, but Russell's been so good offensively that if it was Russell, it wouldn't be a huge surprise. I'm going to randomly call on a defenseman. I feel like Schaefer. That's the first name that came to my mind. So let's see what happens in overtime. See if we could get another win on home ice and have a actually good defensive game here. Let's see what happens. Come on, boys. Get me that next one. I don't care who it is on a roster, but please. Power play for us. We do not score. It's not good. Last game we had a power play as well and we missed it, and that happens again. Just like Game 2, we do not score on a power play in overtime, and in Aubin scores for the Habs. This series is tied, going back to Montreal. I feel like this is definitely a 7-game series at this point. Final shots were 43-40, so their goaltender had a huge redemption game. It was another really good game for Nicholas, but unfortunately, our offense is definitely having that inconsistency problem still. Our only goal is Hamilton from Lindsay and Jang. Oh, boy. We scored 5 goals in the first period of the last game. Only could score 1 goal in this entire game. That's not great. Yeah, but Nicholas has still been really locked in, so definitely got to find a way to make our offense more consistently, as both goalies are the first 2 stars, and McCardle is the 3rd star, so trying to think if we need to make any adjustments. Like I said, the offense has been inconsistent, because it literally has gone win, overtime, loss. We could have probably swept this series by now, too, which is kind of insane, but we only scored 2 goals there. We scored 5 goals. We only scored 1 goal. So our offense has definitely been really inconsistent. I think we might have to make some adjustments to it. I know it's kind of weird, especially when we had a 5-goal first period in Game 3, but Game 2 and Game 4 have been strikingly, resemblant of each other. Like, they look the exact same almost. So what I'm going to do in terms of adjustments is I'm going to probably... How's Lehman been? Lehman's actually been pretty bad. I'm going to put Lehman on the top line just to see if I could get him going again. And Ragnarsson will try and get that second line going. And it's just, Lehman's been very quiet. He's only got 4 points in 10 games this playoff run. He was much better last year. So let's try and get him going a bit. In terms of goaltending, we're going to obviously still stay with Esteban. And then defensively, we've been a good defensive team at times too, so I don't think this really needs much changes because Jang's been very good this round. Lindsay's been good. The top 4 has been solid. Houghton, I don't think has picked up a ton of points, but we're going to keep the defensive core and the goalies the same. Just make a subtle change offensively like this, and let's hope it works. If it doesn't, we might have to make more adjustments after that, but maybe we'll put Belchet's on the right side. I know he's not a right winger, but Ragnarsson's a 2-way forward, so we'll put him on the left side. And Belchet's is a power forward. He's more of a goal scorer, so giving him a chance on his off wing could potentially help him a bit. So let's try that out and see if that could give us some more goal scoring support. And if we could still play some good defensive hockey as well, because we don't really want to give up a bunch of goals as well. So both Western Conference matchups are both 3-1, and in both Eastern Conference matchups are both 2-2. So the Eastern Conference is pretty undecided, but it looks like the Western Conference might be between Calgary and LA for who gets to the finals. Obviously, LA is the team that beat us last year in the Cup Finals, so they are definitely trying to look for a repeat, it looks like. All right, with that said, let's get to game number 5. This is a crucial game for both teams. Obviously, us being on the road kind of sucks for this one. But if we could find a way to win another road game, we could find a way to close out the series in 6 games just like we did to Florida. So let's see what happens here. Big game. We might do a real-time sim. Actually, no, you know what? We're not going to do a real-time sim. I just don't feel safe doing a real-time sim because I feel like I'd be more on edge. But let's get off to a good start here, boys. Let's play good defensively like we've been doing, and let's get that goal-scoring support on our team. First period. 3-0 us. That's a good offensive start. I make some adjustments. It might have helped things because Hamilton scores, Lehman scores, and Kazanov scores. So Lehman goes back to the top line. The third line starts doing some work with Hamilton and Kazanov. That's another good start. And that's also just shows how inconsistent our offense has been. Because literally we had a 5-goal first period a couple games ago. We only scored 1 goal the next game. This game we've already scored more than that game. So Boganecki very close to being chased probably here already from being in net. Shots are 15-5 in favor of us, so very good start, good goal scoring. We also shot 3 times more shots than them too, so very good first 20 minutes. Can we keep this lead intact going forward? Because obviously if they start scoring goals, they could definitely still get back into us. It's not like the 5-0 lead we had in Game 3, so can we hold on to this lead going forward? Second period. 3-2. See, that's why I said we can't really say that, hey, we're out of the woods yet. 3-0 is not really a huge safe lead. 5-0 is definitely better, but McArdle scores for them on the power play. Then they get another power play goal with 30 seconds left from Meyer. We're only up by a goal going into the third, despite outshooting him 29-14. So Nicholas is having a bit of a tough time here in Game 5. We're only up by a goal. We do not want to blow this here, boys. Let's get some insurance and lock this game down. Third period underway. Oh my, I am nervous. Can we get some insurance, please, boys? We had offense in the first period. Let's just find a way to get maybe another insurance marker. Or just play good defensively the rest of the way, but can we find a way to close this game down? Final few minutes, and the answer is no, we can't. Fuck. I was so close to saying, hey, we're out of the woods. Once that's it, I was going to say the game is done or whatever, but DeVoe scores with 50 seconds left. We're going to overtime in Game 5. Whoever wins this game takes the series lead, headed back to New York. Oh my goodness. I feel like we have to jump into this game at this point with how crucial this is, but we literally blew a 3-0 lead. I am very skeptical that our team's going to be able to find a way to win this now. Like, that's why I said when we had a 3-0 lead, you literally can't count out Montreal yet. If we had a 5-0 lead, I definitely would have felt safer. But we definitely are going to jump into this overtime and watch it, just because whoever wins this game will have a chance to eliminate the other one in the next game. So this might be risky jumping in, but it is probably one of the most crucial games of this playoff run. So we might as well jump in and see if we could quiet that Montreal crowd and send them home. I mean, they technically are home, I guess, for that matter. But let's see if we can find a way to beat them in this overtime. Because if we don't, we got to find a way to win next game and force a Game 7, basically. So let's see what we got here. We have Franson going up against Makinen. Come on, Makinen, you got this face-off, man. You're a good face-off, dude. I know you are. And it's a tie-up, and they get possession first. Here is Mullen. Mullen walks in. Mullen shoots, turned away, and it's loose in front. Oh my god, I thought somebody was going to sweep that into their own net. That was so scary. Crane can't get down the middle. So far, I'm not liking the way we're playing here in this OT. Sawchuk throws it to Franson. Nice hit there by Crane. McArdle turns it over. Houghton finds Lehman. Lehman, who just got moved up to the top line. Look at that speed. Can't get by Mullen. Mullen finds McArdle. He finds Franson. Franson makes a move. Nice play by Houghton. It's with Fraze now, though. And Schaefer recovers. Lehman throws it all the way over to Makinen. Makinen makes a move. Makinen trying to get in. Can't get in. Damn. Makinen's always been a good playoff performer for us, too. So hopefully he could get something going for his team. Ragnarsson finds it to Belchetz. Belchetz up to Ashton. Ashton walking in with it. Makes a move. Shoots it. Turned away. Belchetz gets to that loose puck. Throws it out front. Ragnarsson a chance, and that's turned away. We have full pressure after a couple good chances. Burkle. And they get it out so easily. Goddamn, boys. We got to apply that pressure when we have the chance. Carlton finds Belchetz again. Belchetz will get pinned against the boards. He gets it back, finds Ragnarsson. Ragnarsson with some space, gets it over to Ashton. He's stopped by Boganecki on the 40th shot on goal for us. That looked like it could have been a goal there. all alone. He makes a nice move to the forehand, but got denied. Oh my goodness. Crane up there, second in hits in the playoffs. He's definitely showing that he's a playoff performer in terms of that as well. All right, face-off one. Holmstrom finds Carlton. Carlton throws it over. Ragnarsson can't get to it. It's now with Addison. Here is Addison. Addison with it for Montreal. Loose puck in front, and Belchetz finds it. He finds it up to Ashton. Ashton with the puck. Can't get by. Here is DeVoe. All the way up to Aubin, who has an OT goal in the series. Nice defensive play by Carlton. Carlton with it. Finds it back over. Who is that? Dempsey? Yeah, Dempsey with it. Makes a move. Can't get inside, but he draws the penalty. It's a charging call to Agostini. I was going to say D'Agostini because it looks like D'Agostini, but it's not. Nice little move there, and just a big hit from behind. That's a weird one. That definitely is a bit of a charge, but I was not expecting to see a charge when we jumped into this game. All right, so we have a power play with 12:34 left, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Can we find a way to get a power play OT goal as we send out there our top unit, Mackin, Ragnarsson, Crane, Houghton, and I think Schaefer? No, it's not Schaefer, it's Holmstrom. Holmstrom tries to throw it through, can't get it through. Crane battling down low, doing what he normally does. Crane throws it back to the point, Houghton into Ragnarsson. Over to Crane. Crane throws it back to Holmstrom. We cycle it around. It's now with Crane. He finds Houghton. Oh my goodness, we're passing a bit too much, not shooting enough. Houghton a chance, and that's blocked, or stopped. Rebound and another chance. It in the slot, it was Crane, but he could not get it in. We almost have full pressure on this power play, which is huge if we could get this face-off one. It's Mäkinen versus Franson. Come on, Mäkinen. Win this face-off. Give us some pressure on this power play, please. And he won't win it. And Lightning will clear it. That's unfortunate. And they get to that loose puck because Holmstrom does not know how to skate. Addison throws it to McArdle, and that's turned away. Loose puck. Houghton finds it. We might have an odd man rush if somebody could jump up, but nobody is jumping up fast enough. God damn, that was a little bit scary. I thought we were going to give up a short-handed goal there because Holmstrom didn't know how to play defense. Here is Addison, and he puts it back up the boards. So far, our power play looking a little disjointed as they go offside. God damn, boys. At least we almost have still full pressure. If we could get some shots on goal, we could still activate that pressure system. So it is Ashton in the second unit out there now against DeVoe and Sawchuk. Come on, Ashton. Nice face-off win there, but Sawchuk got to that loose puck first. Ashton finds Kazanov. Kazanov with it. Kazanov out front. A chance for Lehman, and I don't know how he didn't get that in, but big sprawling save by Boganecki. DeVoe with it now for the Habs. Over to Sanchez. He doesn't get through. Nicholas will not freeze the puck. Belchetz finds Lehman. Over to Ashton. Still in the power play for 40 more seconds. Lehman behind the back. Kazanov, he scores! What a pass from Lehman. Oh my goodness. And Kazanov, of all people, scores in overtime. We take this game in Montreal despite blowing our lead for the most part. And we are one win away from going back to the conference finals. Absolute big goal there on the power play from the second power play unit. And Lehman's passing is fantastic. Look at this pass, though. Behind the back. Oh, my goodness. Right on a stick of Kazanov. Upstairs. And see you later, Habs fans. That might be your last game you get to see of your team this season if we could find a way to win next game. But, my God, how did he know he was there with that behind the back pass? I try to do that pass sometimes when I'm playing floor hockey, and it doesn't really work out that well, but Lehman able to do it in an NHL game, so that's a huge win on the road. Absolutely huge. Nice to get one on the power play, too, because our power play has been, I guess, a little bit stagnant this playoff run, but definitely a big goal there from Kazanov. Boom. Fantastic. And that's why Lehman is one of those guys that we re-signed last offseason. Absolutely huge pass in that one. And did he have a goal in this game too? I don't remember, but Kazanov, it says, has 4 points. Yeah, Gregory Lehman, 2 points. But look at the stat line on this. 4 points from Kazanov in a big, big game. So Kazanov definitely proving he's one of these players that we could turn to in the playoffs. Absolutely huge. And then, yeah, Nicholas wasn't super good in that game. But I'm still not going to put the second period and stuff on him, really. So we had Hamilton from Kazanov and Carlton, Lehman from Kazanov and Ashton, Kazanov from Jang and Dempsey, and the game winner, Kazanov from Lehman and Ashton. It's kind of crazy when Kazanov is able to do all that, because he's literally on the third line in power play and probably penalty kill, but he had 4 points in that game. So that's a huge one to send us to this next game where we have a chance to close out the Montreal Canadiens. All right, so we head to our next game, which is on home ice. Hopefully we could use this home ice to our advantage, as our AHL team is on to the next round as well, which is good to see. So our AHL team has been fantastic so far. They are playing in the conference finals against the Toronto Marlies. So shout out to Bridgeport. Hopefully they continue to chug further in the playoffs. Columbus has the Rangers also by the balls, and it will be Calgary at least in the conference finals in the West. Vegas has forced a Game 6 against the Kings. All right. Well, can we close out the Montreal Canadiens in 6 games, just like we did against Florida, close them out in 6 games, or are we going to go to a Game 7 back in Montreal? I really do not want a Game 7 back in Montreal because that's a bit nerve-wracking. It's been very back and forth so far, so I'm a bit scared because it could be the trend where basically it's back and forth all the way until like this point, and then some team wins 2 in a row. So really hoping that's not the case. Can we find a way to close out the Canadiens and get ourselves to that next round? Let's see what happens. This is absolutely a huge game. We got to play good defensively again. First period, Game 6. Scoreless, I will take it, but I do not like that we're going back into that defensive mode again. Because like I said, our team is basically, so far in the series against the Habs, we've had a good offensive game, we've had a bad offensive game. A good offensive game, a bad offensive game. A good offensive game, this one could be a bad offensive game based on this too. Shots are 12-7 in favor of us, so a decent start in terms of generating chances, but so far their goaltender is definitely playing better than he did last game, which is not good. Can we find a way to get that lead in second period? Second period. Yes, we can. 4-goal period for us. 2 goals for the Habs, which is a bit scary, but they do score first, it's phrased. Then Lehman scores to tie it up. Meyer scores to give them the lead. Lehman scores again. Then Holmstrom scores, and then Dempsey scores. So since we put Lehman back on that top line, he's definitely done a lot better as of late. We do have the lead by 2 goals, which isn't a huge lead, but we definitely feel a little bit safer after a good period like that. Shots are 24-19 in favor of us as well. We're a period away from going back to the conference finals again. Can we find a way to do it? Third period underway. Come on, boys. Let's play good defensively for 20 more minutes. I know you've been good before. Hamilton makes it 5-2. That's a pretty big goal at this point in this game, as our offense is finding that consistency a little bit more. Lehman completes a hat trick on the power play. And yep, we're going to be going back to the conference finals as Burkholm makes it 6-3. But your New York Islanders are going back to the conference finals once again, even as a wild card team. And Jang makes it 7-3 with a late goal. So a fantastic win there. A good one to see our offense doing a lot of good work in that last game. Maybe that's a sign of things to come. Hopefully we get a little bit more consistent offense on our team going forward. But that's a very, very nice win, especially coming off an overtime win in Montreal, as our team will find itself in the conference finals against either Columbus or the Rangers. We'll have to find out. But Lehman from Crane and Jang. We have Lehman from Mackin and Crane. Holmstrom from Hamilton. Dempsey from Kazanov and Houghton. Hamilton from Houghton and Schaefer. Lehman from Ashton and Schaefer. And Jang from Hamilton and Lindsay. So a lot of guys, I think, had multiple points in this victory. 3 goals, obviously, from Lehman is fantastic. Hamilton, who was an acquisition, 3 points. Jang, who was a free agent signing, I think, 2 points. Crane, 2 points. Schaefer, 2 points. Houghton, 2 points. Bunch of guys on 1. The depth scoring definitely showed up in this one. Definitely. Belchetz was the only guy that we traded for recently that just didn't do anything, but that's all right. Big game from Lehman. Big, big game. And then goaltending-wise, Nicholas with a 900 save percentage, so not the craziest game, but still gets the victory, and that's all that really matters. 3 stars of the game, Lehman, Hamilton, and Jang. And like I said, we brought all these guys in the last 2 to 3 years, I think, because Lehman was a trade acquisition, Hamilton was a trade acquisition as well, and then Jang was, like, I think a free agent signing a few years ago, but we've made some pretty good pickups, and they definitely helped us out a lot here to get back to that conference finals again. We've been such a consistent team with getting as far as we have in the playoffs. Like, we could have had so many cups by now if we would have been able to get past the conference finals in past years and all that. But The answer will be the Columbus Blue Jackets in the conference finals as Guerin gets knocked out in the second round again. So we are going to be taking on the Blue Jackets, who we've taken on so many times before. This time in a conference finals matchup, which most of the time it's in the second round that we play them, or first round. So should be an interesting matchup. But first and foremost, let's take a look at our stats from our team after the first two rounds, I guess. So the answer to that is Lehman's leading the team in points now all of a sudden. We still don't have anybody that's over point per game or even point per game on this team, but we are getting that depth scoring, which is fantastic. So yeah, Lehman's been fantastic. Kazanov's been great. Ragnarsson, Makinen, Ashton. There has been definitely some guys underperforming. Crane has 6 points in 12 games, which is not that bad, but he only has 1 goal, which is kind of uncharacteristic of our captain. Because last year he had 17 goals in the playoffs, so definitely hoping he could start catching a little bit of fire in the conference finals a bit if he can. Hamilton's on 5 points. Yeah, like you can see our depth scoring is fantastic. The only one with no points so far in the playoffs is Popov, but who knows, maybe he'll find a way to pop off in the conference finals, huh? So yeah, we'll see about Popov if he could get better or not, but so far he's not really getting a lot of ice time, so it kind of makes sense. He's only averaging 8 minutes a game. I really want to get him more ice time, but I don't really know how I could do that right now this season. So I like our depth scoring, but guys like Crane are our lowest scoring forwards pretty much in terms of goals. So we need a little bit more out of Crane. He has as much goals in 12 games as Hilbert. So that's one player that needs to maybe step up a bit. And then from a defensive standpoint, Jang's on 8 points to lead the defensive core. How is Jang leading us on points on defense? He's outscoring Houghton, who won Norris trophies. He's outscoring Holmstrom, not Hamilton, what I'm saying. Holmstrom, who is also an OFD. He's outscoring Schaefer, who's an high overall. God damn. Well, I'm not going to ask questions when Jang is our best defenseman right now. Like, look at that. He's literally a 78 overall, and he's outscoring an 89, an 86, and an 88. Insane. And he's also outscoring these two guys, too, for that matter. And then from a goaltending perspective, a .930 save percentage through 2 rounds from Esteban Nicholas, 8-1-3. We've lost games in overtime, but in regulation, we've been fantastic. Like, we don't lose in regulation too easily. All right, so some pretty solid stats. Definitely some players need to improve a bit, but I don't know how Jang's our best defenseman right now. I honestly don't. It's good that we held on to him, I guess. So the question is, we know that we're playing the Blue Jackets. What do they look like? Also, the Western Conference is going to be, in fact, the Calgary Flames and the LA Kings. So there is a chance we could have a rematch of last year's Cup Finals if we do find ourselves in the Stanley Cup Finals this year. So that's a bit scary. But let's take a look at what the Blue Jackets did during the regular season and what they've done playoff-wise so far. And then we'll take a look at their roster and their player stats, too, for that matter. So if we go Eastern Conference, the Blue Jackets were above us this season. Not really a surprise. 104 points. We were on 98, but we were a wildcard team, remember, because our division was super strong. Aside from that, they scored more goals per game than us during the regular season. We were better defensively, not really a surprise. They were a little bit better on the power play, but not by much, only 0.5%. And then in terms of penalty kill, we were better as well. So we had better special teams and stuff than they did, and goals against, but they had better goal scoring during the season. All right. Kind of makes sense because our offense was a little bit lackluster early on before we made that trade for Belchet. So kind of makes sense that it's like that. In terms of the playoffs so far, I almost said the penalty kill. What am I talking about, bro? The playoffs so far, they are 8-5. We're 8-4. We're very much similar offenses. They've played one more game, but they've scored just a little bit more than us per game. We've been much better defensively than they have, though, so they do give up goals, which is good to see because maybe that will help our offense a bit. Power play percentage, we've been better, and penalty kill percentage, we've been better. So technically on paper, we're the better team, but they're a little bit better offensively right now. So should be an interesting conference finals matchup. Let's take a look at what their roster looks like. We've played them like almost every year, I feel like, in the playoffs, so we probably know a lot of the guys again, unless some of them have retired since. But this is what the Blue Jackets look like. First line has Jackson Jacobson. They also have a guy named Eric Lyon, which I think he's new. Maybe he's not. No, he was there last season, but I don't remember if he was on their roster when we played them before, but he is on their top line with Pekka Nielkainen, so Nielkainen's still going up against us in the playoff, of course. Second line has Michael Nagy. They also have Christian Hedman and Jyrki Hakkarainen. This guy was really good a few years ago, I think. Third line, Ahmed Lockhart, John Greening, and Kimo Kuka. Cool name. And a fourth line of Dominic Johnson. Caden Woodworth has dropped down to an 81. Woodworth is a really good goal scorer. He has not been scoring crazy goals this playoff run, but he has been dropping off, so they've been giving him less ice time, I guess. And then they also have Luke DeVoe. So that offensive core is pretty good. It's pretty good. I could definitely see why they could score some goals. And obviously I know that guys like Woodworth could step up for goals occasionally too. So good offensive core. Defensively, they have Petri Altonen, Pekka Haken. They also have Gilbert Levasseur, Malik Arneson, I think he's new, UC Engren, and Leonard Tanaka. So I can see why they maybe give up a bit more goals too, because this defensive core isn't the strongest, but maybe it has good chemistry. And then good goaltending. Yep, they have good goaltending. They still have Chimera and Moore. Both these guys the exact same overalls. So they do have the goaltending to back up that weak defense. And scratches, they have Miles Conklin, Bear Turner, and there's an injury right now to Pierce Sharp, who is pretty much not a huge loss for them. So on paper, I think we obviously have the better team, but obviously we've played against them so many times in the playoffs before, and they've been actually a pretty good team. Like, look at the stat line from Jackson Jacobson right now. Only 2 goals, but 18 points in 13 games. Lyon's got 16 points in 13 games. Nielkainen's got 11. So it looks like most of their offense is from that top line. Also, Hedman could score some goals. They actually do have a really good third line, though, too. Lockhart has 10 points. So they do have good depth scoring, so we got to be very aware about that. And then their defensive core, 8 assists in 13 games from Levasseur. He's kind of like Jang for us, outperforming his overall, so we got to be careful on that. Chimera has a 907 save percentage this playoffs, and Moore's played barely anything, so I definitely think we could beat them, but obviously they could be one of those type of teams that actually simulate way better in the playoffs too. So there is that. Is there anything else we want to take a look at before we end this episode? I feel like there is not. But we're only a few more wins away from going back to the Cup Finals again. It's actually kind of insane that LA is actually back in that same spot again. Like, if we have to face off against the Kings in the Cup Finals again, it will be a little bit stressful, but maybe we can find a way to beat them this year. Maybe we can. We obviously got to go through the Blue Jackets first and foremost, though. So, anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of New York Islanders franchise mode. So, in next episode, we will take it to the conference finals against the Columbus Blue Jackets as we look to get back to the Cup Finals again after we only made it to the wild card this year. But our team has been able to win past 2 really good teams. If we could just find a way to beat this Blue Jackets team, we could have a chance to win a Stanley Cup again. So, I think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.